My name is Thalia. I am 73 years old, 50 years in the School of Christ. 50 years ago, the Lord gave me a jump start. He started my journey with a song. And the song was, "Open my eyes that I might see, glimpses of truth thou hast for me. Place in my hands the wonderful key that will unclasp and set me free. Open my ears that I might hear, voices of truth thou sendest clear. And while the wave notes fall on my ear, everything false will disappear. And open my mouth that I might bear gladly the warm truth everywhere. And open my heart that I might prepare love with thy children, thus to share." And now here I am, 50 years later. Actually, I am the fulfillment of that song. I'd never dreamed that I would see the things that I see in the scriptures. And it's taken a conglomerate of 50 years of studying, of trials, tribulations, of fiery trials, in order to put it all together to give a more clear picture of what I'm seeing today. Now, what I wanted to share this morning was something that I have seen in the book of Revelation, chapter 12. Now, this is something that no one has ever seen that I'm aware of. No one has ever spoken of it. No one has ever taught it. But yet I see it. This is something that I see, and that's what I'm going to share. So we're going to start with Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. I'm just going to do the whole chapter and kind of talk about it. Because, Paul said that these things that we see, they're hard enough to understand. Things that are hard to understand. Can you imagine? Not only is it hard to understand, but imagine trying to articulate it. But that's what I'm trying to do. Okay, Revelation chapter 1. 12 and 1, "And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars." Okay, now this woman that we're seeing is Isis. She is been represented from the beginning of Genesis all the way to Revelation. What God is showing us in this Revelation chapter 12 is that he declares the end from the beginning. We're seeing the whole little picture from beginning to end. So he's showing us in this chapter, he's showing us the mystery woman, mystery Babylon, the woman riding on the beast, the religion of that has swept the whole world, the Queen of Heaven. And in my hypothesis, now this is a hypothesis, it's Eve. Because do you remember when Eve was promised by Satan that he would make her a god? Well, he was true to his promise, because he did. In this world, the Queen of Heaven has been worshipped from Genesis all the way through to today. And a video that I watched by Spencer Smith, and the name of that video was Beyonce, Black is King, BLM, and Black Magic. He explains how this Queen of Heaven started and how it brought all the way through Revelation. The only thing is, after Eve died and she could no longer be the god, he picked it up from Nimrod, who married Semiramis, and their child was Tammuz. And from that point on, you have the false mystery religion. So we have here, "And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet." See, that's her sign. Nimrod was the sun, and Semiramis was the moon, and the stars was Tammuz. Okay, so this is the mystery religion that he's showing you. He's showing you there appeared, and then the world, they understand what's going on. They know this truth, because you can see Beyonce, and I'll try to find the picture and put these in the description. You'll see there was a time when Beyonce has had herself clothed up on the stage exactly in this appearance. She was the woman. She was clothed with the sun. She had the moon at her feet. She had the crown of 12 stars, and she was pregnant. There was an isoptotal star in her gown, and she was pregnant at the time with twins. This was Eve. She was representing Eve, who has become the Queen of Heaven. All right, so let's go on to these twins, okay? And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered. 12:2. She wants to bring forth the antichrist. She's been trying for all of these 6,000 years to bring forth the antichrist. Okay, now I told you you'd never hear anything like this. Revelation 12:3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. He was there in the Garden of Eden when he impregnated Eve with his seed, because remember, we're in a seed war, there's a battle of the 2 seeds. He was waiting for that child, and when that child came, he was going to devour it, and he did. Cain was the child, and Cain killed Abel. Do you remember that? Satan devoured him and had him from that point on. He now has what he coveted after all along, which was get himself into the human race, okay? So then we see that the male child, okay? Verse 5, and she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Now, if you study through the scriptures, you will nowhere find Jesus Christ ruling with a rod of iron. Iron is used for the symbol of the Antichrist. From Genesis to Revelation, you can do your own Bible study, but this is the Antichrist that she has been longing to bring forth. So, and if you'll notice, if you'll go into the interlinear, you'll see that there are 2 words used for child here. They're 2 completely different words. So he says, and she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And he has, from the beginning of time to now, he has ruled in this world with a rod of iron. It's not been an easy go. And then it says, and her child, who was to rule the nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. And her child that was Abel. When Cain killed Abel, he was caught up to God and his throne, because he was a type of Christ. And Christ was caught up to his throne. So we have going on here the mystery of the ages, okay? So then it says in Revelations 12:4, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. That's right, I went to that. Okay. And then she brought forth the child. And as soon as she brought forth that child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and when her child was caught up unto God and to his throne, that now we've moved all the way in time to Jesus Christ. He was caught up to God just like Abel was. The Antichrist killed him. Cain killed Abel. The Antichrist killed Jesus. Okay, so we have, and then right after that we have the woman fled into the wilderness. Now, you don't see this woman with a crown of, the sun at her head and the crown of 12 stars and the moon at her feet. No, this is a different woman. This is the woman that has the other seed, the seed of Jesus Christ. Okay, so this woman now is being fled into the wilderness. She's the one, she's his body, she's his church, she's his bride. And she's having to flee into the wilderness. And from the crucifixion of Christ, and even in the Old Testament, God's people have had to flee, and they have been persecuted, especially from the time of Christ. But you see this war now going on. So we see this woman, she flies into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days, the last and final 3.5 years of this earth, which we happen to be in right now. All right, so she's now in the wilderness, and she's being fed. What is she being fed with? She's being fed with the Word of God, and she has been fed with the Word of God. But now we're, all the way to now, but now we're in the final 3.5 years. Then we see, and there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. So there has been this war, this tug of war, this battle of the seed war. It has been going on since Genesis 3:15, and it's up to now. But now we're in the final stage, the final 3.5 years of the 7 years. We're in the tribulation. We've been in it for a little while. See Leland Jones. That's another video I'll put in. If you really need to see his latest video, he really explains this really, really well. All right, so, and how God shows us everything is about this final 3.5 years. I mean, God mentions it, many times in the scriptures. Focus on it. Focus on it. Okay, so now there's this war, and Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. So we know the end of the battle is going to be, quite nice. They're not going to win. We will be the victors in this battle. But it's right now we're in the final stages, and it's victory. So victory. But now I want to go into, I'm 10 minutes. I'm going to have to make this a part 2. So God bless you, and please tune in to part 2 because it's getting interesting. God bless.